Hello and welcome to Application Testing with UiPath Test Suite. After the nice preview of the story in the previous video, it's time to see how the process really works. So, in the next couple of videos, we'll be navigating between the components of the UiPath Test Suite, Test Manager, Studio Pro, and the testing module of Orchestrator. We'll also get to see how these different components can be integrated with some of the most common ALM tools, such as Jira, Postman, GitHub, or Jenkins. In the first video of the series, we are going to look at the administrative side of an application testing project, and at how UiPath Test Suite fits in an environment already functional, one that is built around Jira. This is UiPath Test Manager, the component of UiPath Test Suite serving two important purposes: managing test projects and test cases, and integrating with other ALM tools. An important point to make here is that Test Manager doesn't need to be integrated with other ALM tools. It can work independently and serve all the needs that the testing function may have. But we know that, in many cases, an environment is already set up, and Test Manager can integrate with it. This is a typical test project, one we've created before. Here under Requirements, we have several requirements, also created earlier. Creating requirements is extremely easy. Give it a name, add a description, and some labels. Then hit Create. Next, if we access our newly created requirement, in the Overview tab, we can see the description, as well as the labels. Labels simplify the search process. If needed, we can remove the existing and add new ones. As for the test cases, they are going to be listed below, as you'll see a bit later. There are two more tabs visible for any requirement. One is the Documents tab. Here we can upload documents that are useful for this requirement. We can rename and delete them. And depending on their type, even preview them. The other tab is the Details tab, where custom fields appear. The Tasks menu in the upper right side offers several options. We can create a new test case assigned to this requirement. We can assign test cases already created. And we're also able to delete requirements. This is exactly what we'll do now, because we want to focus on the integration part. In real business scenarios, companies typically use application lifecycle management tools for software development. In these apps, they typically manage assets, which ideally should be leveraged in the testing phase to avoid duplication and redundant work. It's exactly why UiPath Test Manager easily integrates with the most common ALM tools. Let's see how such a synchronization can be configured. We'll navigate to Project Settings. Click New Connection and select one of the options here: Azure DevOps, Jira, ServiceNow, Webhook, or X-Ray. Let's go for Jira this time. But remember, besides the predefined options in this menu, Test Manager can integrate with virtually any ALM tool through its SDK. First, we need to name it. Optionally, we could add a description, then input the server URL. We'll copy this one from the address bar where our Jira instance is open. The link we need is the part before the first slash. The web URL field is optional, and is meant to be used when the Jira REST API is not hosted under the same URL as the web user interface. Then enter the username and password. The last field we need to take care of is project key. We'll also take this one from Jira. Now, just click Save. We're done with half the work needed to set up the integration. Let's go for the second half, in which we configure the connection in Jira. The first step is to install the Test Manager app from the Atlassian Marketplace. We can access it from the Settings menu by selecting Manage Apps. We will be taken to this page. Here we need to search for UiPath. In our case, the Install button is not available, because we've installed it a bit earlier, but you'll definitely see it here. Next, let's go to our project in Jira. Before getting to the requirements, let's configure the connection. We'll go to Project Settings, then to the UiPath Test Manager page, which is the last one. Here, we need to add the API key and the server URL. We'll take both from Test Manager, the URL from the address bar, and the API key from the connection. Then we will select the requirement types we want imported. We'll go for Stories, then Save. The connection is all set. Let's see how it works. Going back to our project in Jira, we can start creating stories. As soon as we do that, we can navigate to Test Manager and see that the story has already been pushed as a requirement. In its Overview tab, it appears as created by an external source, which means that it was pushed from another tool. Okay, let's create another one. And once again, it's added in Test Manager. One thing to note is that the push is not only automatic. For example, let's delete one of the requirements that were already synchronized. Now let's go back to Jira and open the story. From the three-dotted menu, we'll simply select Push to Test Manager. And it's done. If we go to Test Manager and refresh, our requirement is here. And it appears created by an external source once again. Alright, let's now assign test cases to our requirement. There are two ways of doing it. The first one is from the requirement. We'll select Assign New Test Case. This will allow us to create a new test case and assign it to the requirement. We'll give it a name, a description, then hit Create. The test case now appears in the Overview page. The second option is from the Test Cases page. We'll click Create Test Case, add the name, and then the description. This time, our test case has been created in our project, but it wasn't linked to the requirement. That's a step we will take care of now. Let's go back to Requirements and open the one we're interested in. And using the upper right side menu, we'll assign the test cases from those created. Now the test cases appear on the Overview page of the requirement. This concludes our demo on managing requirements and test cases in UiPath Test Manager. In the next couple of videos, we'll be focusing on the substance of the test cases for application testing, such as database testing, API testing, and UI testing. Later on, we'll revisit Test Manager to see how automated test cases are mapped to it, how they can be run, and finally how results are shown. So, stay tuned.